What's up, guys? How's it going? It is Matt here on a beautiful late summer day. I hope you guys enjoy the scenery. So I want to talk a little bit about a topic that I've covered a little bit in the past, but I want to get a little more in depth to it. There are a lot of people out there that either are gun owners or haven't decided whether or not they want to carry a gun, and they're looking for a reason to, or they're looking for some sort of justification to carry a gun. So this video is mainly going to be directed to you guys. Now, carrying a gun is not necessarily about, being all tactical and crazy cool and, jumping in to stop a fight every chance you get. And it's not like an action-packed movie where you're, oh, I got a gun, and you got to pull your gun and save the day and all that other stuff. Carrying a gun is not like that. Carrying a gun on a daily basis is kind of like carrying a fire extinguisher on a daily basis. You carry it specifically to defend yourself and your family against a fire in case the situation ever comes, because fire is real. Fire exists, so fire can come at any time. Just like evils in the world, and evil exists, if you catch my drift. So if you're carrying a fire extinguisher to protect yourself and your family, and you come across a burning car with a family stuck into it, what will you do? Will you run away? Or will you actually try to put out the fire and save the people's lives? Carrying a gun is not about being big, bad, and tough and all tactical looking and all that other stuff. Carrying a gun is not like that. What carrying a gun means is that you recognize that in our beautiful world, there is evil, there are threats, and sometimes you can't talk your way out of things. I want to talk about this because there's a lot of people that are seriously not sure whether or not they do want to carry a gun. A lot of people, they'll see all these tactical channels and stuff like that, and they're like, well, I don't know if I can, be like these guys and do all the crazy stuff, be able to hit targets, 100 yards away with my 9mm or whatever it is. A lot of people see that, and they're kind of not sure if they're going to fit into the gun culture, in the gun culture way. Guys, you don't need to be a crazy tactical marksman in order to carry a firearm. Carrying a firearm specifically means that you understand and you recognize that there's a threat in the world, and that you are willing to act to stop that threat. Now, there's a couple things you need to take into consideration when you're carrying a firearm. And I'm not talking about guns and holsters and calibers and all that other stuff. It's not about that. The things you need to take in consideration when you're carrying a firearm is when you can use it, where you can carry it, and how you act while you're carrying it. Now, there's a lot of people, I've met people in my time, I've known so many people in the gun culture, in the gun community, that the second they strap on a gun, they all of a sudden become an asshole. I mean, they literally become an asshole. There are literally people out there that when they carry a gun, they are looking for a reason to show off their gun or to pull their gun. They start, their demeanor, their mindset changes. They go from being a regular everyday person to now being a person looking for a confrontation so they can pull their firearm. A good example of this is this is a video. Now, it was actually a couple weeks ago I saw this video. There's this biker just riding his bike, speeding around and just being a jackass on his bike. And then out of nowhere, someone that gets pissed off and has some sort of road rage incident, an older guy, shows up behind him, and the guy looks over, and he has a GoPro on his helmet, and the guy's sitting there with his jacket open and a Glock pointed at him just so he can confront him. When you carry a gun, that doesn't give you the right to start confronting people into causing trouble. Carrying a gun is a 100% last resort. You need to avoid threats. You need to avoid confrontation. You don't want to have to draw your firearm, because if you for some reason make the wrong choice and you draw your firearm, you could end up in prison for the rest of your life. And the worst part about that is now you have to live with the conscious thoughts nonstop of, I just killed this person for a ridiculous reason. So carrying a gun is not for everybody. There are different types of gun owners out there. I did an entire video on it, but I want to talk about the mentality of some of these gun owners. There are some people that I've met throughout the years that when the first thing that comes to their mind when there's argument is, I got a gun so I can get in and I can get my 2 cents in because they can't talk crap to me because I'm better than them. I've seen it, guys. Believe it or not, I've seen it. I don't know what their thoughts are, but you can pretty much read what they're thinking. When they're not carrying a gun, they're no big deal. And then the second they put on their gun, they're like, yeah, let's get going, So there are people that are like that. There are some people, there's people that I know that have been talking about carrying a gun, and I've been kind of putting it off because I can get them a permit. I've been putting it off because technically, as an instructor, what you're supposed to do is not just teach them the firearms handling. You also need to use your good judgment and be like, okay, what are the reasons this person wants to carry a firearm? When you own a gun or when you're carrying a gun, you can't have the mindset of shoot first and ask questions later. I mean, what happens if, you hear a bump in the night and you have that mentality, you're half asleep, and you grab your gun and you pull it up and you just start shooting shadows in the distance, and next thing you know, you turn on a light and you realize you shot someone from your family. You can't have mindsets like that when you're carrying a firearm. You just can't. A firearm is a deadly weapon, which means if you use it, you will cause serious bodily harm or death to someone, and you are the one that pulled that trigger, and you are the one that will suffer the legal consequences, and you are the one that will have to live with your choices for the rest of your life. When you're carrying a gun is a tool of defense or a weapon against tyranny. It is not a tool you can use to get out your aggravation and anger and aggression. So if someone pisses you off, you can't just grab a gun and point it at them. You can't do that, because now you are going to prison. That's actually considered assault with a deadly weapon. You can actually end up in jail for that specific reason. Guys, if you want to become a gun owner, if you want to carry a firearm concealed, you have to have the right mindset for it. You can't go looking for trouble. You live your life the best you can. You try not to look for any trouble. You avoid trouble, but you are ready to respond in case trouble does come to you. I've used this metaphor in the past. If you find yourself in a dark neighborhood and you see a super dark alleyway, just because you have a gun doesn't mean now that you can go down that alley. If you choose to go down the alley specifically because you have a gun, you can be charged in the court of law. If you ever have to pull that firearm and discharge it, you can be considered a assailant because you chose to go down the alley fully knowing that there's danger down there. And now if you ever pull your gun and you have to shoot it, you can be held accountable for that. You need to have the right mindset when you have a gun. You cannot be a vigilante. You cannot be a just want to get my point across type of person. You have to be the best possible person you can be. You have to have self-control. You have to have politeness. You have to be the best possible citizen you can be. Before you decide whether or not you want to carry a gun on a daily basis, you have to take those into mind. You have to be courteous, you have to be polite, you can't be a vigilante, and you can't be an asshole. You have to be self-righteous. You have to be a good person. You have to have common sense, and you cannot be looking for trouble. If you are traveling down a road, for example, and someone cuts you off, you don't follow them all the way to their home just so you can report them to the police because they are being a bad driver, because that can actually end up in some sort of bad situation where it becomes a confrontation and you have to use deadly force. Now, in a court of law, you can be held accountable for specifically following that person home and ending up killing them. You can be held accountable for that. You have to make the right choices if you're carrying a firearm. Carrying a firearm is not for everybody. There's a lot of responsibility when it comes to it. And I'm not just talking about responsibility of, carrying a firearm. Responsibility in lawful choice. If you ever pull the trigger, every single round that goes down range, you are being held accountable for. So you have to make the right choices. You have to shoot the right person for the right reason. That is, if in defense of your life or others. That is the only possible reason you should ever have to pull your firearm on someone, is to defend yourself. You are either defending yourself or other people. That is the reasons you should be carrying a firearm. Now, I hope this kind of helps people decide whether or not they want to carry a firearm or not. There are a lot of reasons you should, in today's modern day world, carry a firearm, and at the same time there's a lot of reasons you probably shouldn't. So if you have the mindset that fits into that defensive warrior mindset, is like, I will respond and I will not use it against other people, I will make the right choices. So for the people that aren't quite sure whether or not they're going to be carrying a firearm on a daily basis, I hope you watch this video, and I hope this kind of helps you decide whether you want to actually do it or not. There's a lot of responsibility that comes from carrying a firearm, and I'm not just talking about the firearm safety, I'm talking about accountability. All right, So I hope this guys help. If you like this video, like, share, subscribe, tell your friends about me, and remember guys, it's our responsibility to take care of each other and protect each other. Peace.